In 1999, students Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold would embark on a massacre that would make history.
People were getting shot all around me.
And the name of one Colorado high school synonymous with tragedy.
That guy is in a black trench coat. That guy.
The body count rose.
On April 20th, 1999, the Columbine High School massacre occurred. The Columbine shooting is the most famous school shooting in U.S. history. It is ranked at one of the worst mass shootings in the U.S. and one of the deadliest episodes of school violence. The two shooters were Dylan Klebold, 17, and Eric Harris, 18. They killed 12 students and one teacher, causing a total of 13 deaths. 24 others were injured. In addition to the shootings, the complex and highly planned attack involved a fire pump to divert firefighters, propane tanks converted to bombs placed in the cafeteria, 99 explosive devices, and bombs rigged in cars. The original plan failed, though, due to the bombs not going off, so only the shooting occurred. The aftermath was a mix of shock and pain. The U.S. had never seen anything like this before. The Columbine shooting affected everyone. The people inside the building were affected the worst. As many as 14 to 35% of students involved in the shooting have developed post-traumatic stress disorder. This is not unusual. Countless of other people involved in school shootings have developed PTSD or another mental illness. Psychologists describe PTSD as an anxiety disorder that may develop after exposure to a terrifying event or ordeal in which severe physical harm occurred or was threatened. Studies have shown that the longer or more exposed the victim was to the shooting, the more they suffer after. In an article by Miranda Heedy, Columbine survivor Marjorie Lindholm talks about her life after the shooting. She was hiding just under the library in the science room during a majority of the shooting. In fact, she was trapped in the same science room that William Sanders, a beloved teacher, bled to death. She was stuck in the room for 4 to 5 hours, and she remembers having to repeatedly give William CPR in an attempt to keep him alive. I dropped out of high school, and it took lots of years to get enough courage to go to college, and I still can't do it, says Marjorie. She decided to take online classes instead to avoid being in a classroom. Even though she found a way around school, she's still struggling every single day. School shootings are everywhere now. When asked about how she deals with seeing shootings, she replies with, "You see all the victims on TV, or even the kids who kind of witness things on TV or the news, and you know what they're going to go through because it's what I went through for the past 9 years, and I feel so bad for them, and there's nothing anyone can do." Marjorie isn't the only one dealing with this. Many other people that have experienced school shootings' lives have been changed forever. For example, Nate Hatch, a victim of a shooting at Marysville-Pilchuck High School near Seattle, Washington, was shot in the jaw by his own cousin, and in order to stay alive, he had to pretend to be dead. He is no longer able to play football due to his jaw being easy to shatter. According to his father, Nate got nightmares and was emotionally scarred. Another, more famous victim of the Columbine shooting, Patrick Ireland, has talked a lot about his life after and how he was affected. Patrick was one of the people shot in the library. He is well known for being the boy who climbed out of the window. He was shot in the head and the leg, causing him to be partially paralyzed. In order to survive, he had to crawl with both his injuries past dead classmates, which took him a total of 3 hours due to him passing in and out of consciousness. Even though Ireland faced serious injuries, he was able to heal 100% physically and he's even doing great emotionally. In my mind, there was still good in the world, still positive things that can come from negative tragedies like this. And I think that being able to overcome an event like that and move on, there has to be some level of trust that you put in people and in the human spirit, says Ireland on trusting people again. Patrick Ireland is now a director at a financial services company and is married with a 2-year-old daughter. He was also recently awarded the Christopher and Dana Reeve Inspiration Award at Craig Hospital, the same hospital that treated his injuries from Columbine. He was giving this award due to his determination, advocacy, and commitment to serving as a positive and influential role model to those who have sustained a traumatic brain or spinal cord injury. Nowadays, school shootings have almost become a regular thing. The shootings range from young to old, but 59% are 10 to 19. Shooters also don't care about who they shoot, whether it's kids, teenagers, or adults. Since the Sandy Hook shooting, there has been 74 shootings. The U.S. now averages 1 shooting in every 5 weeks. We've almost become numb to the idea of shootings. This needs to change, and we're the only people who can do it. Schools need to take more precautions with safety. The only way we can end school shootings from occurring is to change ourselves and the way we have been living.
When the two boys, Eric and Dylan, terrorized Columbine High School, the whole world was shocked. Nobody had ever seen such a drastic event. In the Columbine shooting, more than 10 people died and twice that many were injured. This was one of the first major shootings that was majorly covered by the media, and from then on, they got more and more common. People in the U.S. have become somewhat desensitized because school shootings have become just a part of society. We are still saddened when we hear about shootings, but we know now that people who shoot friends and teachers are not mentally stable people.
We have a type for a school shooter, a white teenage boy who is an outcast with a few friends and is either depressed or is overly violent. This is partially right. The majority of school shooters are male, but there is a wide range of race among killers. We know that they have something wrong within themselves that causes them to solve problems with wild violence. Usually, school shooters are some form of psychopath. Peter Langman says that we should not just think of a white male as a shooter, because this might lead to us to ignore warning signs from someone else who doesn't fit the profile. Psychologists have said that it seems that all shooters are some level of psychopath. A psychopath is a person who lacks empathy but can fake it very well. It can be hard to find a psychopath because of their ability to mimic the emotion, but it is not impossible. Usually, a psychopath who kills people has been pushed by other events. Killing is not just caused by psychopathy. Eric Harris was a psychopath and also had a superiority complex. Eric felt like a god compared to everyone else in the world. He thought that nobody could compare to him and that they should all die because of that. This was fueled by his psychopathy, which led to the massacre. Eric was the leader of the shooting, and he was the planner and the motivator. Dylan was severely depressed. He had planned to kill himself over and over, but never could bring himself to do it. Dylan thought of the shooting more as a suicide than an opportunity to kill others. Dylan was also very concerned with what Eric thought of him. According to the detective investigating Eric and Dylan, Dwayne Fuselier, they made tapes called the basement tapes, explaining their plans and reasons for the shooting. These tapes are not released to the public, but in Dave Cullen's book, Fuselier talks about these tapes. He has said that Dylan would say something with great enthusiasm and anger, and then look at Eric for affirmation. It seemed like Darren was trying to impress Eric. Between the two, Eric was the dominant partner. Eric was the mastermind behind everything, and Dylan looked up to him. Sometimes, people who are not psychopaths will kill just because they think they have no other options. For example, Dylan had become so depressed that he didn't think he had any options other than suicide, and he had become convinced by Eric that that was the way that he should die. In many circumstances, people who knew a shooter say that the shooter seemed like a relatively normal person, and that there were no warning signs. This is because a psychopath displays normal behaviors and tries their hardest to seem normal. Eric and Dylan were both mentally unstable, and this explains their actions at Columbine High School.